Chancellor, I'm sure you would like to be talking about your investment in improving roads, but the front pages are not telling that story, are they? There are taxpayers who feel that you misled them in that emergency breakfast speech that you give. Will you apologise to taxpayers who feel misled by you?
At the beginning of November, I made a speech setting out the context for the budget. And so thank you for giving me a chance to answer that question. In that speech, I spoke about the Office of Budget Responsibilities review of productivity in the economy, and that there was likely to be a substantial downgrade. That downgrade came, and it took £16 billion off of tax receipts. And as a result, we did have to make decisions at the budget to increase taxes. And I was also clear in that speech about the things I wanted to achieve in my budget. To cut the cost of living, which is why we took £150 off of energy bills, cutting NHS waiting lists, which is why we protected NHS funding in the budget, and also cutting the debt and borrowing. And anyone who thinks that there was no repair job to be done on the public finances, I just don't accept that. We needed to build more resilience, more headroom into our economy. That's what I did, along with that investment in the NHS and cutting bills for families.
So I've got here the OBR document they published in the past few days. I'm sure you've seen it, and it shows that on the 31st of October, 5 days before you gave that speech, that they told you that there was no black hole. There was, in fact, a £4.2 billion surplus. So when you gave that emergency breakfast speech, you already knew, didn't you, there was no black hole. You knew there was a surplus, but that's not the impression you gave. Was that misleading?
If I had come on this programme today and said, at the end of my budget, there's a £4.2 billion surplus, you would have said, and rightly so, that's just not enough, is it, Chancellor? And you would have been right, because we did need to build more resilience into our fiscal position. A £4.2 billion headroom would have been the lowest headroom against the fiscal rules that any Chancellor had ever delivered. So it is clear with those numbers, and those numbers moved around a lot, that we did need to build that headroom. And also, of course, the OBR was saying that inflation was likely to come in higher, and as a result it was so important that we had that cost of living offer in the budget. And of course the OBR confirmed that because of the measures we took in the budget, inflation was going to be 0.4 percentage points lower than it otherwise would have been.
The story you told was only premised on the gloomy news you were getting from the OBR, not the much rosier news about the increased tax receipts that were flowing in. And you pitched this as being honest with people, but that's far from being honest, isn't it? Can you at least understand why taxpayers, whose money this is after all, feel misled by you? Can you compute that?
Well, the rosy news that you referred to is higher inflation. And higher inflation is not good for working people. It may inflate the tax revenues, but only because prices are higher. And that's why I was determined to bring down inflation in my budget, which is why we had the cost of living offer on energy bills, on prescription charges, and also on rail fares. And in that speech at the beginning of November, I also set out that everyone would need to contribute to put our public finances with higher taxes. And I did extend the thresholds for 3 years from 2028 because to ensure that we had reductions in the cost of living, to ensure that we continue to bring down NHS waiting lists and build that resilience into our public finances that we absolutely need in the face of shocks, whether that is trade or conflicts around the world. And that's what we achieved, that's what I achieved in my budget.
If you're so sure you're right about this and that you did not mislead taxpayers and the markets, would you welcome an independent investigation that looked into this and could draw a line under it?
Well, the Office of Budget Responsibility have published their numbers. I've now delivered the budget. That budget is consistent with the speech that I made at the beginning of November to cut the cost of living, to cut NHS waiting lists and to cut the debt and the deficit. I said in that speech that everyone would need to contribute, but I kept that contribution as low as possible by asking those with the broadest shoulders.
Just for the record, would you welcome an investigation that could draw a line under this, whether you misled the markets and taxpayers or not?
I don't think that that is necessary. The Office of Budget Responsibility have published their numbers.
And finally, just you presented this budget as one of fairness. I mean, for those people who are wondering why should benefits go up with inflation, but not the tax thresholds for working people, they say, well, maybe you think that's the right thing to do, but is it really the fair thing to do?
Well, the Conservatives froze the tax thresholds for 7 years. We have extended them for a further 3. But even under the Conservatives, benefits kept pace with inflation, and that's what we continued in the budget this week.
Is it fair, though?
I believe that's the right thing to do. We've uprated...
Just what last time, it's a straight question. Is it fair? Because
yes.
The sense of fairness is what people feel very, very keenly.
I think
see
it's
benefits going up with inflation, and their tax thresholds are not.
I think it is fair that the pension goes up by the triple lock, and that's earnings. And I think it is fair that universal credit and other benefits go up by inflation. That's what's happened over a number of years, and that's what I continued in my budget.
Chancellor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.